We are back with another episode of Just a Recording Podcast, where we have conversations with individuals that think differently and challenge the status quo with success and valuable lessons. This week's episode is with a fire guest, a gentleman that I met when I was down in Mexico on another plant journey, somebody that I crossed paths with, not only in the physical world, but on the spiritual plane. We didn't know each other, but, made decent eye contact and then just had this connection in the other dimension when we were on the medicine, and just really supported one another and really sent so much love to each other. Ended up giving him a ride back to his house that night. We had dinner and just really connected, and I wanted to have a follow-up conversation to what our experience was on the plant medicine, what happened during that night, and how it just transpired, and really the synchronicities that happened post that ayahuasca ceremony has just been absolutely incredible. This gentleman has a very interesting story because he's also a digital nomad and hasn't really stayed put in an area that isn't, that wasn't his hometown in the last couple of years. And, for those of you who are interested in that lifestyle, it's very, very interesting. And I dig really deep into, what it does to his psyche and, just the attachment that you have to physical belongings and how you lose that and how much peace that can bring you. So without further ado, before we get into the episode, please go on Apple iTunes, leave me a 5-star rating, leave me a review, let me know how you're liking the podcast. It helps obviously with the podcast charts. And also go ahead and check out the podcast sponsor, therootbrands.com/universe. That's therootbrands.com/universe. They just came out with a new product called Restore, and I just had it for the first time last week when I was out there visiting their headquarters in Tennessee. It is mind-blowing. Let's go ahead and get into the episode. Appreciate you, fam. Peace. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Just a Recording Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Moen, and I am beyond excited to have this conversation today with this gentleman who is a brother in arms and is somebody that we'll talk a little bit about the story about how we came across paths, but almost like meeting on a spiritual plane and, really forming a brotherhood and, coming out of a plant medicine journey, really looking at each other and being like, that was fucking intense. And we were right there next to one another the entire time. And the synchronicities that have happened afterwards, this just begged for a conversation to happen. And I am so excited. Not only did I meet and enjoy and fall in love with this brother, but gave him a ride home back to Playa in Mexico. We had a good hour and a half car ride home, invited me over to his house for dinner, and just bullshitted the entire time while, eating some fresh organic fruit. And this gentleman is definitely somebody that I would love to continue our relationship and continue the conversation. And so I'm super happy to introduce Willis Drinkin. Did I pronounce your last name right?
You did. It's an alias, but you did. You pronounced it perfectly.
It's an alias.
Yeah, that's an alias.
Well, I know you go by William and Willis, but mostly Willis, right?
It depends upon the social circumstances in which I meet people. When I'm stepping into something where it's coming from a different heart space, it's William. And when I'm kind of more playing my social masquerade, it's Willis. Willis was actually born back when I was working in the corporate world. And I needed something that the corporate machine could see. So I gave them the version that they were looking for and recreated a new Willis drinking. It was once upon a time Willis whiskey drinking, but now it's Willis medicine.
Oh my God, it's your last name, is drinking. I just realized that and put two to two together. Oh, that's hilarious. Well, I'm so honored that you're here and joining me today on the pod. I really want to get into so many freaking things with you. We have so much to talk about. But first, you are obviously coming live from Playa del Carmen, Mexico. You and I met. So let's talk a little bit about your journey up until now, what's brought you to Playa, where you're originally from, and talk a little bit about your history, because I think it's it's beautiful to hear, your story, which we've already spoke about, is just what's brought you to Mexico and also what's keeping you in there in Mexico.
Awesome, awesome. Before we say anything, Patrick, it's an honor and a real pleasure to connect with you again, man. I'm looking forward to this being one of many. But yeah, sure, let's dive right in. So I'm Irish, of Irish descent, but London born, and moved around a lot for the first 18 years of my life before I left the country. And I've pretty much been nomadic for the past 18 plus years now, actually.
Wow, that long.
Yeah.
18 years?
Yeah, so I mean, I was nomadic in the corporate world. I was a Unilever future leader, whatever. And so that was like rolling projects. And then, long story short, I left to go and do my own thing for a while. I went back as a consultant and continued rolling. One year I did 53 flights and did bigger and bigger programs with them until I finally really left. And I did all of that remote, and I've continued to travel. It's part of my, I don't know, like from a young age, I've just known that I want to know the world. And I've made a lot of my decisions based upon location freedom for the longest of times.
That's incredible. And so talk a little bit about some of the spots that you've been in. I think I remember Australia, right? Weren't you in Australia for a little bit or?
That's the one place that as a heartstring that no, I haven't made it to Australia.
Yeah.
Sure, New Zealand, Sri Lanka.
It was New Zealand. That's what it was. Yeah.
Bali, lots of parts of Southeast Asia, lots and lots of places in Europe. Just for anyone who hasn't yet heard of Tarifa, which is the southern tip of the European peninsula where Spain and Morocco meet. That's one of my heart spaces. That's a kite surf mecca with a lot of digital nomads or remote entrepreneurs working from there. And then, yeah, for the past few years, a lot more of South America, particularly Colombia and now Mexico, where hopefully I'm about to get a residence visa, and this is going to be a part of me spreading myself, continuing to explore nomadically. I claim that to be some sort of Irish blood thing, but
yeah. How is, I mean, 18 years is forever long to be living that kind of a lifestyle, and it's not for everybody. But as we've seen with the pandemic, obviously, millions of people were working remote or working from home and really got a glimpse of like what digital nomad looks like. And so you look like you're thriving. You look like you're enjoying every bit of it. Are there moments of, despair where you're just missing kind of having that cornerstone staple? Because I think there's some of us in the world that home is where the heart is, right? Like, it's not like, oh, this is where my home is. It's kind of like, no, I am home. I am love. I am everything that I need to be. And so everything is within me. I don't need to find that in an exterior, like 4 walls. So I guess how has that served you in your mental space?
Well, I really deeply feel that. And something that relocating so much has allowed for me to do is to continue to ruthlessly, authentically expand. And to be really honest, I find now that it's only through that continued pursuit of who I feel called to become, that I build my friendship network, my real brotherhood, my real family. And it's just becoming more light and loving. There's really no other way to say it than that. And and to me, it's a global network now. And that's just how my friends are. They're all over the world. And it's a nice time to be here in Playa del Carmen because it's one of the few countries that's open. And so I just have a constant stream of people who seem to be coming through here or Tulum, whether it's for conferences or, a couple of months to get away. And it's incredible. I just invite them into my home. I'm like, yo, come stay, come play. I'm hustling. Sure, you are too. And if you're not, come stay, come play,
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the keys. So, I
love it.
But to your point, though, it definitely does take a toll. And some of my good friends have made a very different choice about, settling down, building a location, building a base. And I really do feel the value in that choice too. There's pros and cons, there's definite trades-offs. So I'm not trying to sing it's all flowers and roses, you know, it's not all glory, but I'm also incredibly grateful for the choices that I've made and for how it's allowed me to explore my definition of consciousness, relationship with myself, relationship with my life. And I believe that ultimately it's taken me to somewhere, not only somewhere where I truly want to be, which is both external but internal, but also that journey, that process, that evolving is part of my dance, my poetry in life.
Yeah, I love that. It's you know, and I think that it's so beautiful to kind of see, and you know, having you end up in Playa and just being able to pluck all these like little nuances from different stints of stays in different geographical areas that are ultimately serving your highest self. And you know, you've kind of been on this inward journey of, you know, really looking at yourself in the mirror. How has that been, and when did that start? Because I know that, you know, you've been ingrained in the plant medicine journey, and you know, also just really kind of diving into who you are and who you want to become and how you want to show up. So when did that start, and kind of what really birthed that?
No, to be honest, it's been a seed since as long as I can remember, and part of that might have been for moving schools some 6 times when I was younger, and always being an outcast no matter what was going on. And I think what that gave me the opportunity to do was to stop externally validating from a very young age, and start to recognize that home, like you've said, when they say home is where the heart is, I mean, that's really a very much an internal place. And my number one relationship that I believe is the most important relationship for me to have is my relationship with myself, because the depth and the quality of my relationship with anything else is only as reflection of how deep and how healthy my relationship with myself is. So for as long as I can remember, man, from young age growing up, the plant medicine stuff is relatively new. It's only I think 3.5 years, but in the past 3.5 years, I'm over 30 ayahuasca ceremonies, about an equal number of mushroom ceremonies, the majority of which have been what I now understand to be hero doses, which I typically take myself out into nature, into the mountains, into the forests, and
Yeah, explain what a hero dose is, because I'm not sure everyone knows what that means.
Well, I've come to understand that of a reasonable psilocybin mushroom, dried mushroom, it's over 5 grams. 3 to 5 grams is meant to be strong, and over 5 grams you're meant to be venturing into pushing something.
The other dimension.
To be honest, I was lucky enough to have somebody who was finding them in the natural way in Colombia. I was like, here, have 150 grams dried. I've got some things to do, so here. And I was like, okay. And I didn't have proper scales, so we kind of broke them up, and I had like these 10-gram portions. So I just take 10 grams and go and yeah, like meditate deeply into it. Let whatever was coming through to come through.
Holy shit.
Opportunity to
I mean, most people that are probably listening to this, there's probably a select few, and I can probably put on one hand like ones that would know what a hero what a hero like dosage of psilocybin is. But most people, when they do mushrooms, they're taking around 2 to 2.5 grams to just like to get high, right? Where you're actually like, that's some deep work. Like anything over 5 grams is some deep fucking work. And I mean, things are coming out from your soul that you probably have no control and no idea that are coming up from, like, you know, from a 3rd grade teacher telling you to be quiet or something. And it like unraveled into this huge story that you told yourself.
You know, it's those 2 words, no idea and no control, has been part of my. So I was originally raised with a very academic and strong Christian background, and and control and knowledge were kind of high values. And to the point that I actually had become very much a mentally orientated person instead of being open to wonder and allowing things to happen. So I think that's actually exactly the point of why I've gained so much from this is learning to surrender and learning to let things flow and being able to trust and know that I'm good in my heart and to just allow it to come and to sit back and observe. And that's a very pragmatic tool for inner peace as I then, so I'm very driven, very ambitious, very disciplined, very entrepreneurial in my day-to-day movements. And I can really put a lot of pressure on myself with that as well. So that's one of the gifts that the plant medicine has really brought me, particularly those two medicines, is being able to learn to surrender and wonder and imagine and not needing to know, not needing to control, not needing to have the answers. False illusions, false security, really. And it's an incredible gift.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, when you told me that you've done more than 30 ayahuasca ceremonies and you stopped counting after 30, I was just mind blown at that. And I think we had that in the conversation before the day ceremony that we did together, which was pretty magical. So tell us a little bit about like what is it that you do? Like, you know, not too many people are familiar with what a digital nomad is, and so like what is your day-to-day, you know, work, you know, and how are you able to live that lifestyle while also living in probably one of the most beautiful places? I mean, Playa del Carmen has got to be like top 5 prettiest places I've been to. There's a lot of other different pretty places, but the culture, the vibe, like the city, like the people, like it's got a full package of you know, easy to get to. You just fly right into Cancun and it's a 45-minute drive. It's absolutely stunning and gorgeous. So what is it that you do, and tell us a little bit about your day to day?
Sure. I mean, before I say what I do now, just to say that I basically tried to live this lifestyle nonstop, and I actually did it previously in the corporate world as well. When I was delivering global transformations for Unilever, you know, multi-euro, multi-country projects, I was doing that from my laptop in kite hostels and in the car office in Portugal in the forests. I had a VP in one call say he was in the rainforest, and I was like, yeah, that's me. That's awkward about that. So it was just, to be really honest, it had come down to some tragic early childhood experiences of losing my closest friend, and our plan was to travel the world together, to surf and snowboard together. And I made a decision to go the corporate route from an early age and missed out on some of my early opportunities with him. Got some of it, but not the full thing. And I kind of made a decision that my definition of success was going to have this location dependence and this exploration as I continued with my corporate, now entrepreneurial career. So no longer is it the corporate piece. Now it's very much direct response marketing. So I have been doing email marketing for a period of time, but really right now I'm building, very excited by a venture that we're building, which is based around 21-day challenges for different aspects of men's health. And really it's something I feel passionate about because I personally don't feel that there's enough information, access in a fun and interesting way, not like hard facts, but to make it kind of playful for so much of society, for so many of the men that I see back home in the UK particularly, to have fun and to play with different aspects of what could be a much more vibrant expression and experience of being alive. And so that's the new business that I'm building. It's a combination of different things. So my day-to-day is a combination of, to be honest, nerding out on my entrepreneurial skills and my marketing skills. Every day I'm banging on the craft and yeah, laying the foundations for this new adventure. You know, moving away from the term work in its entirety and using the word ikigai instead.
Say the last word again.
Ikigai.
Uh,
You know it?
I don't, but it sounds familiar. I've heard it before.
Yeah, it's that cross section of passion, purpose, profit, and um, another thing. To be honest, I've forgotten. It's like it's what you're meant to do. It's what you would
Yeah.
get up and do no matter what, and it's where you get all of those kind of aspects all tied together.
Yeah.
And
Flow state.
yeah, well, not always. That's for sure.
Yeah. So
Well,
you think Playa del Carmen's going to be home now? So you're planting roots there, or
well, to be honest, it's a very convenient, stable base. I'm more of the point of thinking that this will be like a central hub that I'm going to spoke and continue to adventure out from. My real passions are around, or some of my real passions are around kite surfing, kiteboarding, and surfing. And so there's so much awesome adventures through Central South America. So having a stable base that I can come back to for sprints, but yet at the same time, at the moment, North Brazil is lighting up for its kite season, and I can't stop daydreaming about what that would be. So yeah, but I
that's
think
dope.
Mexico, Playa del Carmen. If somebody wanted to dip their feet, in the shallow end of the pool to try working remotely in a different place, Playa del Carmen is a solid spot.
Yeah.
Good infrastructure, easy transport. If they're smart with where they choose to live, it's safe. It's safer than a lot of US cities. It's safer than a lot of UK cities. That's for sure. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. Thanks for telling your story. And it's so interesting to hear and to listen to. It's funny, I can see the sun setting now,
Yeah,
and it's starting to it's starting to come through the window. But what I want to get into next is how we cross paths and how we really kind of came about and met, and then the journey that we went on, and then post that and everything that's kind of happened since, because there's so many synchronicities, and it's been such an amazing just like evolving like friendship that's just continued to grow, and as we check in with one another. So
as well, I'm really curious to hear, ayahuasca is obviously a very intense experience, and it's not about the experience itself, it's about what you take from that experience and how you integrate that into your life. So I'm really curious to hear more from you, like what have you taken from the experience, how's that different, or how's your sense of being, or what's changed, what's moved for you?
Man, well, I'll tell you this, the ayahuasca ceremony that you and I did, which was my third, and it was very different because it was a daytime ceremony, which I had never ever done. And that was your first as well too, right? That wasn't your first day?
No, that was my only day that weekend, but I've done a lot.
Yeah. But you've done a day ceremony before?
Yeah, numerous.
Yeah. So that was a very like coming off of that weekend, like integrating was so difficult. My stomach was absolutely destroyed. Um I kept waking up. Um so what did I do? I traveled back. I went to my sister's house in North Carolina, maybe like a week and a half later. For 3 weeks post the ayahuasca ceremony, I was waking up in the middle of the night back in ceremony.
Oh, wow.
I was literally waking up in ceremony, not knowing where I was, completely discombobulated, completely on another plane, like in a different dimension. Like, and I had no fucking clue what was going on. Not only that, but I was just like, I was shitting my pants and I couldn't stop. Like I was getting celiac sick post.
How long? Yeah, how long after?
It was probably about a good 2 weeks.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it was rough. I mean, it wasn't easy. Like I was starting to like take some supplements of like, but natural, like charcoal, just a lot of things that I take for like gut health. But I could tell that what had happened, and obviously the medicine is what you drink, so it's going into your gut and into your stomach, that there was still medicine, like what Ruben was talking about, still in my intestines, still in my gut. And when I was going to sleep and my body was processing and going through, I was tapping into some that had the medicine was continuously still in me.
Well, that, from what I've gathered, is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, it more speaks to it saying like it's trying to continue to remove things from you, or it's like, and that those things it's removing can be, physical things, but can also be emotional energies,
yep,
or like mental energies. And I know that might seem like quite an abstract term. So to be like more specific, I've got big family, number of siblings. We argued a lot, and particularly when I was younger, I would have imaginary arguments. I think most people can imagine what that's like. And so that kind of a mental energy, where if you feel the need to continue to argue with somebody, that's an example of mental energy. I'm not trying to say that's for you, but that's typically part of that. Might speak to say that it's you connected really well with the medicine, and it's continuing just to like flush.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that Sunday day ceremony was intense. So before we get into like what exactly we experienced, I mean, what was so interesting is I was listening to a playlist as I was driving in, and I had done the Friday ceremony. And then, after Friday night, waking up on Saturday, I was like, fuck doing Sunday. I don't know how I'm going to do Sunday. And then Saturday night, I was like, no, I'm fucking doing Sunday. So driving in and like, my playlist song is like starting to play Will You Surrender, like literally as I'm driving in the Rubens estate and on his property. And as I get to where you park, it's a pretty long drive, not only out to where his plot of land is, but driving in through the jungle. And I like go to pull in, and you're standing there. And you were saying goodbye to your girlfriend, which I had no idea who you were and what was going on. But I literally just pulled in and parked. We kind of gave like a head nod. And then I went into the Maloka and basically started to set up like the bed and like camp for what was about to be a 9-hour fucking journey.
Remember what emotional state you were in as you entered that car park?
The emotions that I was having was that I was ready to surrender to the medicine. Like it was very like on par with that song that started playing. And I was just like so ready to like get into that experience. And I was a little nervous because I didn't know what a day ceremony would bring, and like how I would like be looking at people, and not that we would be wearing face masks. Like I was just very like, all right, let's do this. Let's go. Giddy up.
Yeah, you had, because I remember turning and seeing you come in, and it was just this sense of centered peace. And you kind of just came in like with this kind of sense of smiling, kind of like gravity. And I was like, oh, that's a brother. And we carried on the conversation. It was just, you had this kind of like magnetic kind of, I don't know, beats coming from here. So yeah, it was funny because literally you came in, I was like, oh, that's really cool. But then I came in, I set up my mat, and it turns out we're sat right next to each other the whole way through. And that kind of experience of us both kind of like having our journals, and there being some key moments where we both would sort of simultaneously, Ruben would say something, we'd grab our pen, like
literally would write like before the ceremony even started, you and I are journaling. We both have our journals. I think you even said to me, I turned and looked at your journal because I used to have a journal just like that, and I thought it was mine.
Right. Yeah. There, actually. Yeah.
And you're like, I almost started writing in your journal.
Yeah. I went to swipe it, like to pick it up, and I was like, whoa. That's definitely a faux pas.
Yeah. So setting the stage, obviously, we had very little interaction before the ceremony had started. You were sitting right next to me, and it was just kind of like a couple head nods and like, how many journeys have you done, or ceremony, excuse me. And then it was like, all right, shit, let's get ready to do this. And then, both of us walking up to Ruben when he invited us up to take, ayahuasca chocolate. And so we're taking chocolate that was basically laced with, ayahuasca. And I don't know about you, but I was ripping already just from the chocolate, and I was primed and ready to go.
Yeah, it's funny because the couple of ceremonies prior to it, I hadn't had such a good connection with the medicine. So this time I went, I was so disciplined on my diet to make sure I would have the best possible opportunity to have a connection. And I said to Ruben before, and I was like, I've not connected well the past couple of times. And so when he gave me the chocolate, and immediately I was like, whoa. I was like, oh, this is going to be one of those ceremonies. And
yeah,
the intentions that I brought with me actually had me in quite I really came to face some inner demons. And so I was like, well, it could be one of those ceremonies. And then I had this, ayahuasca chocolate. And it was like, oh, it's definitely going to be one of those ceremonies. Awesome. Okay. But for anyone who's listening and doesn't know a bit more details about the ayahuasca ceremony, two of the commitments that you're asked to keep, one is never leave, which is just for obvious reasons as much as anything. You need to be protected and cared for while you're in that state, because there's a lot that can be going on for you. So it's very important that you're properly cared for in that kind of protected, safe, and you need to feel like you're in a safe space as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the other part of it as well is noble silence. So not just not having conversations and not trying to disturb each other. So it was really odd, like you said, like we kind of had this sense of deep brotherhood straight off the bat with no words whatsoever. And it wasn't until after we'd both gone on our individual deep journeys, and I'd seen you really going through some things at some points, and I was just like rooting for you and also grateful to you. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing, but it feels like you're doing it for me as well. It was like, yeah, go.
Bro, I got fucking goosebumps up and down my spine right now. And it's so crazy that you say that, because I felt the same about you. Like we both had masks on.
Right.
And I just remember hearing you go through and feeling like I felt when you were laying down on the ground, like I felt like when you were breathing really heavy. And it was out of like, it was so tribal for me to be a part of that experience. Like I felt like, I think we talked about this, like it was very Native American, right? Like this is how humans are supposed to be, like ceremony, like around the fire, like, binding and with our brothers. And all I remember is I knew that you were going through some heavy shit, and I kept verbally saying protection for my brother. And it was for you that I was saying that over and over and over again. And I don't even know why, but it was just like protection for my brother. And I was literally getting into the music, and then I would go into my fucking shit. I mean, I've never had an experience where through the medicine, I mean, I was convulsing and seizing like uncontrollably, like I couldn't stop. And I remember, I mean, my experience was really, really scary on that first cup. I experienced like death, and I literally, for probably 5 instances, there was 5 different times where I was like, I think I need to tell Ruben something's wrong. Like, I think I'm not going to make it through this. Like, my heart is fucking beating out my chest. I kept feeling my forehead. I'm burning up, like probably at 103 degrees, sweating profusely. I can't stop convulsing. Like I'm trying to ground and shove my hands into the floor of the Maloka and grab onto my crystals. And like, all I kept thinking was, you got this, breathe through this. And then it was like, I don't got this. I need to tell Ruben something's wrong. Like, it was out of control, that experience. And when I went up for my second cup, my heart started beating, because I was like, why am I going to take more and go back to the place that I just got out of that was so fucking scary? And like, ultimately, like Mother Earth communicating to me as I was trying to ground of like, this is not your body. So stop trying to protect it from me taking it from you. Like, it's recycled energy. You need to give it back. It's not yours to keep. Right. And it's like, feeling this energy of like, this is like a hair of what you are doing to me. So feel this energy through me, because what humans are doing to destroy Mother Earth, this is like a fraction, a millimeter of what you can feel right now is what's happening to the earth.
Wow. Really well.
Yeah. So, and that was probably, and that was the first cup.
And there's something really to be. I mean, for anyone who's not actually been through an ayahuasca experience and really felt through just how fucking real it is, for exactly what you're saying, where you're like, you've just about got yourself back together. You're like, whoa, like I think I might need to go for another cup. I don't want to. Like the courage that it takes at that point there to really be like, and the faith where it's like, I know that this will be for my betterment, for a better experience, a better consciousness, a better life. And there's some stuff that I need to let go of, to heal, to, transmute, whatever. But still, that kind of, I don't feel well. I don't have my physical energy about me. I don't even know if I can stand up without crying, falling over, throwing up, or like shitting myself, frankly. And then the courage to go again. Like I think it takes something, but it gives us a lot more. It gives us that kind of confidence in ourselves to do the same, to go deeper, to go to the more challenging places, to remove the obstacles that are there for, call it emotional convenience in our lives, and to like really kind of, because they say like the real ceremony is life. This is just a small ritual. And I feel that, man. I really feel that.
Yeah, I remember like when we were getting ready to set up, and I started to look at everyone who was coming into the ceremony and like getting their beds ready, and I remember going, oh fuck, this is like a G ceremony. Like the G's are showing up. Like, there was the two dudes that were to our left, homie that was playing the drums, and then Howard was sitting next to him.
Right.
And then I had two G girls sitting next to me to my right who look like they've been doing it for a hot minute. Like like the volunteers from like where the property was that helped Ruben. So, and everyone was like bringing instruments, and I was like, what the fuck? How is Ruben going to allow people to play instruments? And then I was like, oh, that person works here. That person works here. Oh shit. And it was, I think 15 of us. And it was, that ceremony was so much stronger than the Friday night where there was like 30 plus people there, because the individuals that were there felt like veterans, and like they were there to do some deep fucking work.
I love being part of those ceremonies where I see in people and like, something you said before was there's something so tribal about actually sitting in a circle and doing it's a very humbling experience to be that kind of like, no bullshit, guys. I'm upset about something in my life and I'm going through something, but without needing to explain it and offload it onto anyone, just doing it for myself and seeing other people do that and realizing that point of, wow, humans have a lot of stuff going on, but like not in a cognitive way, like you feeling the weight of it, and then feeling the humans around you, and that kind of, because I feel myself in a much greater depth and complexity in ceremonies than I do when I'm running to the gym or like, going on Zoom calls, whatever else. And realizing and feeling that as part of everybody who's next to each other. I don't know, there's something that just makes me realize that, I'm a pack animal. It's part of how I've evolved to be. And it's something I'm really concerned for people as they go through lockdown, is because I think that I know that just going on a retreat and just sitting in that kind of a collective thing with zero medicine would be so therapeutic, restorative, beneficial for us. And there's something that I think that we've kind of missed, and we might kind of superficially have it, going into an office, going to a bar, blah, 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 being around other humans versus sitting together with a sense of collective tribe, even if it's like people you haven't met before, but you go through like a process together and you come out of it again. There's something that suddenly just feels very, I don't know, it's like wholesome, right? It's just,
it's heart chakra opening. Like it's just like accepting others for who they are, how they show up, no matter what they've done in the past. Like in that moment, they're a fucking brother and a sister.
That's it. And then the real ceremony is taking that awareness out with us,
Exactly. and letting it live and breathe every day from that moment forward, because you can't go backwards. I mean, some people can, because, you know, they try to forget and go back in the real world. But I think you said something very keen, is that, you know, lockdown and like social distancing and wearing a mask, and, you know, babies not being able to see their parents' faces, like these are all mechanisms that, yes, are protecting us from a virus that, you know, is being way overplayed out, but is doing more psychological long-term damage than it is protecting us in the short term.
Yeah, yeah. I won't burden that point with words. You would only dilute it. You just said it concisely.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, you know, continuing on like that little journey, what was also crazy is, I don't know if you remember the girl that was sitting to my right, but there was an entity that came, that showed up before this death experience that I had, like this death of an ego, that I remember was like hovering, like it was like a hooded,
Ooh.
it was like a hooded being, and it was like, fuck, this is really scary, but I know it's not here for me, but it's still standing right over my shoulder. And I couldn't see its face, but I could just see the hood. And it was like doing this behind my left shoulder. And then all of a sudden it like goes and hovers and immediately goes right into that girl. The second that started happening, she started purging uncontrollably. Like, and that just blew my mind, how I can sense something from a negative perspective, and then she goes head. As soon as I feel it go towards her, she starts purging.
To be honest, the more that I drink medicine, the less surprised I am about hearing this type of stuff and experiencing it myself. And like I was saying before, you know, I'd come previously from a very extremely structured, logical, controlled kind of the way that you think and see the world background, and learning to realize how limiting that was and open myself to wonder and curiosity and imagination. And sometimes you feel like, okay, I'm just going to allow myself to have childlike imagination.
Yeah.
And watching what happens and the new evidence that kind of fits together. And I don't need to try and like rationalize it, but these types of experiences, even if, for example, you were to have been hallucinating something that the mind was feeling and sensing, and you were seeing a visual representation of something else that was going on, you know, fine. And the way that you saw it might have been to do with your historical, cultural archetypes, the rest of it. That's the way that your imagination, like, sort of put it onto your radar, fine. But like, I'm not surprised by these types of stories at all anymore. And I've seen too much, I've experienced too much. And it's like terrifying, but not actually. It's a lot more, well, that needs a bit more unpacking, but it's a lot more exciting and kind of heart-opening, if anything. Although that sounds really like oddly positioned against what you just said, you know, watching a dark hooded figure go into somebody and watching them suddenly start throwing up after you've just seen and been aware of it before it happened.
Right.
You know? What's your take on that? What's your take on that now?
I don't know. Because I remember feeling fear, but knowing that it wasn't there for me.
Wow.
And knowing that it was Grim Reaper-esque. And I don't know if you remember, but that girl, she was purging for like the rest of she was purging when we were taking a fucking photo.
And crying and purging and crying and purging.
And like she did one little like ecstatic dance and was like sending us all like positive energy. Like, I don't know if you remember, she tried to get you up to dance when we were dancing around.
I touched my bucket and I was just like, namaste. Like,
yeah, I got some shit I'm working on.
Yeah, thanks anyway. But like, you know, peace be with you.
But she was like, for the entire rest of the night was purging uncontrollably.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I find more symbolism from like the ego death that I experienced than like having the conversation with Mother Earth and like the recycled energy, and that this body is not yours, and like stop focusing so much on like this physical body, like, you know, you have to give it back. That really made an impact on me. and really affected me. I mean, it was a lot.
Let's go into that more, but just before we do, I'm just curious for your perspective on the possibility to perhaps you have actually been aware, because you're aware of what's going on, even though your conscious might not be aware of it. Where your conscious, where your focused, waking mind is, could be wherever, but there's other stuff going on that your total psyche will be aware of. So possibly you might have been feeling, in inverted commas, that she was going through something where she was feeling fear and darkness and getting ready to let it go. And your mind at the time kind of presented it to you that way. Do you think that perhaps it was actually you were sensing what was happening to her and about to happen to her? You could anticipate that, and you actually projected that into a visual,
like thing. a physical form of something.
Yeah, of how you would visualize that feeling, like through empathy. You could perhaps, because you said it was like this deep fear, and so perhaps in your psyche, the Grim Reaper could be death and some of the deepest fears that actually you were feeling at the time.
Yeah.
The reason I ask that is, apart from anything, is, from what I experience now, so I was doing some animal movement for this call, and there was a drunk guy on the beach, and I can see him projecting, and he's like drunk, and I can see him projecting. I see it like in all of the countries. I see so many people projecting themselves onto the world, what's going on in their internal world onto the world, and more that kind of metaphor of life's the real ceremony. And the Buddhists would say it's all a dream. It's like I can actually begin to see more and more how lost we all are as children in that sense, and that journey of spirituality, really becoming more and more aware of emotionally and psychologically and physically what's happening, and not needing to try and wrap it into these really kind of Newtonian concepts that,
right, it doesn't fit in a box.
Doesn't fit not in the boxes we're using.
Yeah.
On wide scale, I would say.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Because the feeling of the entity of like what that hooded being was so real to me. It was almost like I could sense it breathing here, and it was just there. It wasn't saying anything, it wasn't doing anything. And the only reason why I say it was Grim Reaper-esque is because of like the hood and the veil and like black. But it was also, I had a mask on and it was pitch black, but I could sense something. And then it was like, almost like in like the Harry Potter where like the things float. It's not like walking, it just like, and it just went right into her. And then she started purging, like simultaneously, like the second it went to her, she started purging. And so I guess there was relief there, because one, I knew he wasn't there for me. But it was very like, oh shit, what the fuck is that thing? Like that's not something to fuck with. And then two, it was like sending her love and sending her energy, knowing that whatever it is that she's purging and going through and working through, she needed energy, and she needed somebody to be in a spiritual, like on the spiritual plane with her, supporting her and guiding her and helping show, love and light. So, it's really transitioned into, let me see what I can send her in terms of energy, because whatever the fuck that was, I sensed it and it wasn't good.
Yeah. And I mean, the funny thing is, you say that, and I can bet all my chips that you do the same thing in day-to-day life too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's
100%.
And that's the amazing thing I think about these ceremonies. It gives us an opportunity to observe our nature in like a really condensed time frame from a really kind of removed objective view. And when we come back out to this like less condensed day-to-day being, we can see how things are playing out for us and why they're playing out for us that way. Normally that's useful in case I'll use my own pronouns, in case I'm repeatedly making the dumb mistake that I very clearly should have learned from by now. The ceremony will let me kind of come up and be like, yeah, stop hitting myself with a hammer. And then I'll come out and I'll be like, okay, well, I've got a very clear instruction now to stop hitting myself with a hammer. But inversely, which doesn't always mean that I do it straight away. No, I try to. But yeah, inversely though, you know, you really strike me like that sort of a person who can sees beneath the skin in terms of energetically what's happening with people and wishes the best for them at depths that perhaps, well, it's very difficult that they're not aware of, you know. Perhaps it's difficult to read the label while we're inside the jar. And so it goes for that kind of energetic awareness of, you know, we can't necessarily see what's going on with ourselves from the inside always, but I don't know, you and that's kind of like to the point when you first drove into the car park, I was like, oh, depth. That's it. Like, good. I'm always a little bit relieved when I come to a ceremony and I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. We've got people who are depth and centered and, you know, they're bringing strength and love and light. I'm like, yes, okay.
Yeah.
Rolling with a good crew this time. That's good.
And then you know, obviously there was the music. I just remember belting out, and I don't even know if you were there, like Baba Hanuman like came on, yeah. Krishna came on, and I love to sing those songs so fucking loud. Like those songs mean so much to me. And like, you know, and then came this moment where I know I was laying there and I can't remember what part this was, if I was sitting up, but I had my hand on my solar plexus and on my heart. And I hear and sense Ruben like signal to you.
Uh-huh.
And this was actually after Ruben said, you know, when it blew my mind that he opened up the ceremony for people that if they had music from the heart to share it, and that they basically allowing for the rest of the circle to, you know, basically share their music. And it was almost like I could sense the conversation and like Ruben like communicating to you or saying something to you. And you were like, okay. And then the next thing, which literally I felt like deep into my soul and my core, was you let out an om that like vibrated me. And all I remember was basically like, and that I think I was laying down because I got up after that and was like, this motherfucker, holy who the fuck is this? And it was like the kickoff of all kickoffs for everyone to start contributing like their own gifts to the ceremony. And it was so fucking beautiful.
You know, that was actually part of why I felt called to do that. Was I could feel like there was this hesitancy. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to set the bar really low. This is going to be one syllable.
It was magical. And I was like, how long is he going to be able to do that for? Holy shit, he's going really long. When is it going to end? It was pretty intense, man. And it really set the stage for people to start sharing. And then that's when I took my mask off and like, you really just kind of looked around and it was like, you and I made eye contact, you know, and it was like, you know, we all had our hair up in a bun and like people's hair was down. And it was like, you made eye contact and it was like, you were just like filled with joy. Like all of us were just filled with so much love and so much joy. And it was just like play.
Yeah.
And then the music started.
Uh-huh.
And it was absolutely magical to be in a primal circle, experiencing love and community and music and people's gifts that they were sharing, and just ecstatic dance around the fire that I've never felt more alive. And that moment changed me as a human, as a soul, as a person, as a being, and how I show up. Like that changed me 100%.
Wow. And then the choice of words, I was at a mushroom ceremony this Saturday just gone. And, you know, in true fashion, I went deep. But it was that, you know, like really feeling like this sense of love and real, like I am like living, you know, like this sense of like energy coming from all of this and feeling it. And here's the thing, it's not about chasing a high. It's actually like, now that I know that that's there, with the way that I try and live, you know, realizing that I can experience these things, I'm able to love in ways that roll back a few years. I was actually even scared to try and love in the ways that I can love right now. And it's not like, oh, every day everything's magical. No, it's that I've got like so much more resilience, stability. I can get rocked in places and just know that it's cool. I can just come back to center again. Like I can really take the hits with a smile and with a love, like with love in my heart. It's and that ceremony, what you said there, it's like I get this real sense of, it's a deep, I'm going to say soul bath. And I know that some of these words for some people are very loaded words. And I don't, if that's a loaded word for anyone, forget the word soul bath. Just, it's a deep, deep emotional, mental, psychological, energetic, whatever, just, you just, all that stuff that I carry around, I can carry around with myself. So I get really like into like what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Just be able to let go of it all and come back to like the base centered piece of the kind of the joy and love of, or even taking a step closer to what that place is, and remembering that not only, you know, that thing that I've put down wasn't mine anyway, and I can take it off. But that's the point. It's like there's other things that I'm wearing that I might not be ready to let go of today, but I can take them off. Like I don't need to carry these things around and identify myself as them. It's that, like you're saying, after that you go through that experience, you just feel lighter and like more human, like good.
Yeah. We realize that we place so much emphasis on things that don't necessarily really mean shit.
Yeah.
And that we carry those things as like baggage. And it's like, all I got to do is know that I can let this go and put the bags down. I don't need to carry it with me every fucking place I go. Yeah, let's pick it up and unpack it a little bit every now and then. But that doesn't mean I need to carry it in every interaction and every journey that I have.
You know, and then design our lives around the baggage that we're not willing to let go of. So it's like, I can't go over there where I really want to go because that's going to upset my bags. So I'm going to have to go over here. And when you see some people come too close to your bags in a certain way, or when I see it, or, you know, collectively we can be overreactive because we're scared about what's in our bags. But to make it a lot more personal and to own it a lot more, my birth ceremony, I realized that I was afraid of losing love, and it was actually shaping the way that I was having friendships and romantic relationships. I was terrified of losing love, and it was ironic because I wanted love, and that's why I was, you know, that's part of my drive, is that I want love, I want connection, but I wouldn't let myself have it because I would lose it maybe. And so that was like this really backwards thing that was actually preventing me from just allowing myself to open my heart and really experience the connection and be fearless and courageous with love, you know. And that kind of baggage that I was taking with me was getting in the way, and I was shaping my world around my baggage and learning just to let go of it and just be aware for the first time that, oh, there's this stuff that I carry that isn't me, and I can let go of it. It's like, well, I wonder what else have I been so blind to? And
yeah,
you don't need medicine to do that work. We don't need medicine to do any of this stuff. But personally, it helps me. Like, it really accelerates the process for me personally. So
yeah, I think it gives you the roadmap, right? And it teaches you the way in which the journey is, and that you can continue the journey without the medicine, that the medicine is just an assisted, you know, it's kind of like a handicap to help show you and lay the roadmap of like where the healing is and where it needs to be. And sometimes some things need to be, you know, addressed in a better fashion. And so the plant medicine helps, really put a spotlight on some of those areas that you might not be able to break through on your own. But I think it also provides just this roadmap, and it really helps you understand that the journey continues when you're not using plant medicine, but you at least have the roadmap of like, this is the healing that needs to happen, and this is what I need to focus on.
Right. Yeah, I definitely feel that. I mean, said with that equally as well. Um, I know some friends I have back home. I would actually advise them not to go and sit in ceremony because they are. I don't know. I don't think it's the right path for them. I think for them, like a Vipassana retreat and going and sitting with their discomfort in a different way would serve them better. So I'm not going to try and say I think it's the thing for everybody. However, that said, I do wish this medicine, when practiced properly, and that's so huge for those who are ready and able for it, which is the other huge thing. They come with the right mindset, the right heart set, into the right type of place that can authentically take care of the person through that journey and take care of that experience for a collective. It's got some. I think there's so many of us collectively who need that.
Yeah, I think it's a calling. I think the medicine needs to call, and it needs to speak to you, because I've had the same situation with certain friends that, ask me a bunch of questions like, what did you do in Mexico? Like, what were you doing there? Like, and it's like, hey, this isn't something that you just do like smoking a joint to get high because you want to have a good Friday night. Like, this is deep soul work.
Yeah.
And this is like coming front and center, like against your ego, and then it's like you get like this really negative response. It's like, you're not ready. So this is going to hurt you more if you try to mess with this medicine, because it's going to unravel some demons that you aren't ready to face.
Uh-huh. I feel that profoundly. The one thing I would just say is that I know that some people really don't like words like soul and saying it's deep soul work. I think it can be equally expressed through a lot more conventional, materialistic, Western, type medicinal, psychological type structures. And it's the same thing. It really doesn't matter whether somebody's vocabulary to express this, like you and I share, I'm a very spiritual individual, and you also, so we can say these words and be completely cool with them. But I wouldn't want anyone hearing this who isn't comfortable with that vocabulary to think, oh, it's not for me because it's a spiritual thing. No, it's a human thing. Like straight up, it's a human thing. And I think as humans, we've all got a lot of deep work that we all need to do. It's part of the human experience that we go through stuff that we experience as traumatic, whether to the external world it looks like that or not. And it affects us as humans as part of that human experience. And becoming aware of what it is, letting go of it, becoming aware of how a bit like in Buddhism, how they help us with understanding the nature of mind, the nature of ego, and that's both with strengths and weaknesses, but that we are not our ego, we are not our mind, we are not these things, and can let go of them to actually live with a lot more peace, love, joy, happiness, ease with the inevitable.
I mean, shit, we came here as spiritual beings to have experiences. That's all we're doing.
It's just a visit.
It's just a visit.
Yeah.
There's two tickets, one here and one out.
You get both. Like,
you always get both. So obviously closing that ceremony was super special. We had met some friends, and, you and I really connected, and then, you found out that I was going back to Playa, and you're like, do you mind if I ride with you? And you were just like, so fucking happy. You were just like, yes, I get a ride home. I don't need to get a taxi back to Playa.
Was it there? Because he's like, I know that I'm going to find a ride home, but it was a ride home with you. Because like you come in on the way in, I was like, I want to know who this guy is.
Oh, man.
So it was like, brilliant. I was amped because I could actually because it was like, obviously we don't get to speak before, clearly not during the ceremony. And so the alternative would have been like, oh, no worries. I'm sure you're awesome. Have a nice life. Here's a big hug. Like, bye.
See ya.
So I was like thrilled that I could ride with you and like because like your tattoos tell such a story, and it's so funny. Like even some of your tattoos were just like a huge part of what I was. A part of my intention was to do with mother, and like the female side of my family and ancestry, and I had work to do there. And I was actually doing. This is going to sound perhaps strange, perhaps not. I was actually doing work for my mum in that ceremony, and very much clearly it was like, do this work for you because you need to be able to go through this and then help her to go through this. So you're not doing it for her, you're doing it for you both. And that was like a huge thing. And that was before the ceremony. That was a clear thing that I had come to do. And then I'm sat on your left, looking at your left leg beneath the knee, and there's a relevant tattoo.
Yeah, it says mother's family on it, and it's a depiction of my mother and all the women in my life, my nieces and my sister.
And I'd already come with that intention to do that work. And I sit on your left, looking at your tattoo on your left leg. And I didn't even see the tattoo until at the end of the ceremony, until I've already literally died, but realized I can't die because what dies and what doesn't. And anyway, that's another explanation that another call. But wow. Yeah,
man, that's freaking insane. So then we drive home and we're able to share after. I don't think we left until like 9 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock. And we had gotten to the ceremony at 8, probably started at 9
a.m. Yeah.
And so now we're driving back, and then you had invited me up into your apartment, and we were talking about maybe going to have dinner, and it was like, yeah, just come up. And then it was like, oh, you got to have this, you got to try this tea. And then you sent me home with like all these teas and fruit, and I still have those teas, and I'm slowly getting through them. But it was just like such a beautiful nightcap to have and continue the conversation, and to just find all the synchronicities that happened. And then, 2 weeks later, I get a text message on WhatsApp from Aaliyah, which is bananas, who was the girl that, so I have a friend that picks me up from the airport that lives in Playa, and he rented a car for me. So I just rent cars through him. And so he was like, hey, somebody texted me to drive them to Rubens for the ceremony on Friday. Do you mind if they ride with you? And it was like, is it a homie of yours? And he's like, yeah, it's a girl, and she's mad cool. And so I was like, if she's a homie of yours, no problem. She can ride with me. And so Aaliyah rode her bike to my condo that I was staying in. And then she doesn't know who I am. She just knows Marco, who's the homie, told her, like, you can ride with Patrick. And so, this is her first ceremony. So I'm like preparing her on the way there. And then 2 weeks after that, she sends a selfie of you and her hanging out. Like, of course, Willis. And it was like, how is this even possible?
It was crazy because on my side of that, I was with a boyfriend. He'd just been in a UFC. Well, sorry, not UFC. He'd been in an MMA fight that day, not UFC at all. And we were chilling by the pool, and she's an incredible soul. She's an incredible mind, and she's unpacking the view she had of religion and spirituality, of consciousness. And she's unpacking it and unpacking her experience and being like, well, what I thought, I no longer think. And what does that mean? And we were unpacking it. And it's so funny because we keep on talking. And then after we've spoken for probably about 2 hours, you come up and she's like, oh, this beautiful soul, and saying all of these like incredible things about you. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm just smiling. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And then she said your name and I was like, wait a minute. You went in with the guy who I came out with? That was beautiful.
I know, right? And it's just like,
all of the relays getting like the relay baton just getting passed. It's like, oh yeah, this one's for you. Like,
yeah, you need to come across this path of this human and this spirit and go through this journey. But what a beautiful experience it was. Not only, the Friday night with Aaliyah and meeting her and helping guide her. I mean, just the shit that her and I had to go through on that Friday night and what she experienced, but then experiencing that Sunday morning ceremony with you was fucking unbelievable and so amazing and so incredible. There aren't even words to describe it.
So are you going to have another ceremony in the future? Like, where are your thoughts with that?
Yeah. So I am talking to a shaman here in Raleigh, in Raleigh, North Carolina, in America, that there's potential. And then, obviously I keep getting text messages on WhatsApp from Ruben. So, I'm always interested in when it aligns with my schedule and being able to come down. 100%. Yeah. Definitely coming back without a doubt.
That's really awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I've created and cultivated a small little community of friends and people in Playa. And so, you know, if like we were saying before the call, if shit keeps getting weird in America, I'm out. Peace. I got a 4-wheel drive vehicle. I will drive straight through Baja and come to Mexico one way or another.
Yeah, and it's just putting that out there that there's a new program here in Mexico. If you've been here before in a year previous to this year and you come on a tourist visa, you stay there. There's some other conditions, but then they're open to giving you a cheap 4-year residency, which to me, honestly, at the moment seems like a very good plan B.
Yeah.
So in the back pocket, there's no criteria to stay for any period of time. You can come and go as much as you please. Your economic activity isn't associated with the Mexican economy. They're not interested in your tax. I'm not a lawyer. Everybody do their due diligence, but I'm just saying that in case that was appealing, then it's worth looking into.
Yeah, no, I am super interested in, obviously just living in a different country has always been a goal and something that I've looked towards, but one, it would be safety, right? Like making sure that I'm safe, and if anyone is with me, that they're safe. And then also just being able to provide and being able to cultivate a community where I can continue on my path, but also, be in that flow state where I can provide not only for myself, but for whoever's with me.
Here's just a couple of thoughts to share with you on that. I mean, safety, yeah, paramount, goes without saying. And just quickly on that, in Mexico, I think it's anyone looking to understand the safety in Mexico needs to look at it state by state, city by city, district by district. It's not like all bad or all good.
Right, exactly. It's the same way in America.
Same way in America, same way in England, Like I've seen some weird stuff in very safe places. But I mean, from that point onwards, though, like, yeah, the opportunity now to do remote work, to start projects, to start contracts remotely, is the new world. I mean, that is the way things are, and learning how to access that remote economy, I think, is just an absolute do it now. Because economically, though, I think looking at how turbulent things are economically at the moment, and how I predict it's going to continue to be for the coming years, it's like being able to rock and roll with the punches as things happen, in terms of economically, then that's more important now than ever. And also, something that I've become aware of is that my greatest entrepreneurial growth and spiritual growth has come from, and honestly, just my journey as a human has come from going to different places and connecting with these different tribes all around the world, and learning and growing and changing the way I think and believe about things. And my tribe is global now and growing and evolving and continually changing. But I'm as much as I love my friends and family back home, I'm so grateful for having had the opportunity to expand. I think your tribe is here, but also in a lot of other places. Well, so if and when that time comes, I think that your 3 boxes will get easily checked and more.
I agree. Oh, so brother, where can people connect with you at, since you have an alias on Instagram and all the things?
Today you can't.
Yeah, well, that's also a good thing.
That's it. Yeah,
people need to hear that. You sometimes you just can't connect with others.
That's it. To be really honest, as of today, no, I can't be connected with. However, roll forwards 1 month from now, I will be launching a new venture. I'll be launching a podcast actually inspired by you.
Wow.
But
Honored.
yeah, I'm really keen to expand that conversation forwards. But you've lit a fuse, and I'm just watching this fuse go, and it's about 4-6 weeks away. So no, today it's too soon to say anything other than that. But who knows? We might do another call like this in the future, and that might open up that opportunity, that conversation again. But for today, though, man, it's been incredible to connect with you. It's been incredible to come on and have this type of conversation with you. And
It's been beautiful.
yeah, I honor and appreciate you, man. Like you really kind of you come with like this love and this light and this kind of strength and curiosity and authenticity. Yeah, it's
Thank you.
beautiful to know you.
Thank you. And the same goes right back to you. I wouldn't have wanted to have this conversation if I didn't feel the exact same thing that you just mentioned. Like just so much love and so much energy and just so much giving. And like you opened your home to me as a complete stranger that you didn't even know. And it was like, yeah, hey, like you want to come and visit me? I got a second bedroom, like bathroom. You can stay here. I'll give you the keys. You can come. Like even if I'm not here, it's yours. Like it takes a special human to be able to do that and to be able to truly see someone and know they're here for my highest best purpose and have nothing but love and light to give. There is no ill will. There is nothing that they would do to harm me, and I feel that when I'm in your presence.
Well, it's likewise. It's because I see you that I can be like, yeah, cool, take them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, such a beautiful experience, man. I really appreciate you sharing your side of the story and how we met. And I can't wait to continue this conversation. But thanks for taking the time today. It's been a beautiful, beautiful moment in time for us to be able to connect again.
Oh man, I appreciate you. Here's to a long and flourishing friendship.
100%, man. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace.